Hi folks, Lou here, and I'm going to talk about whether it makes sense to follow the quote rule of cool unquote in game design. I think it's often a bad idea. The rule of cool generally is if it's cool, it's good, put it in. Well, of course, in historical games that's difficult to do, but you can have lots of other kinds of games where you can use this rule, and where it derives from really is role-playing games. You have role-playing games where the rule of cool is relatively subservient to the game, and you have games where the rule of cool dominates. But the examples I'm going to use are from World of Tanks and World of Warships. Now, an example of rule of cool that doesn't work very well in World of Warships, or World of Tanks rather, is the EVRs, the wheeled armored cars really, that somehow are so strong defensively, quite apart from being very fast, that it's almost impossible to get rid of them when you're up against them. And it ruins the fun for everybody else because they're so hard to knock out. They can just run around and blast away and do what they want. Another example is aircraft carriers in World of Warships. The company that makes World of Warships, same company that makes World of Tanks, has changed reality, I suppose you could say. It's very difficult to get a citadel on a aircraft carrier, for example, even though it would have been relatively easy in reality. They're not heavily armored. And in various other ways, CVs don't act in a way that you'd say was realistic. It's cool for the people who play the CVs, but it's an annoyance for everybody else. The fun police, they stop the fun, is what some people say about it. Another example in World of Warships is submarines. They're a pain in the ass. They can't be seen. They have bizarre rules where they lock onto a ship and then send homing torpedoes toward them. This is World War II technology, essentially. It doesn't even come close to reality, but somebody thought it was cool, and that's the way submarines work in that game. And you can probably think of a lot of other games where there are cool things that are not good for the game. Now, I can name something in my game Britannia that I put in because it's kind of cool and people expected it, and that's King Arthur. There's no historical evidence for a King Arthur. Yes, you can buy books about it, but they're inventing things, or they're taking things that, oh, this could be King Arthur, and they put it all together. Oh, King Arthur. It's bullshit. There's no contemporary evidence at all. There's nobody mentioned by that name, practically speaking, until centuries later. But I put it into the game. I call it literary license because it's something people expect from Dark Ages Britain. And I made it even cooler in the third edition of the game, which hopefully someday will be released, because he leads not just one nation, the Romano-British, but he leads 4 nations, one of each color, one after the other, because he's a war leader, not a king. Nonetheless, Arthur probably didn't exist, although there may have been people like him who did some of the things that Arthur is supposed to have done. And it's undeniable that the Anglo-Saxons were stopped for a generation at least. Something happened to stop them from moving forward. So it's kind of rule of cool, but it doesn't screw up the game. So if you have things that are cool, or you think are cool perhaps, that don't screw up the game, then sure, put them in if you can. But if you're going to change things, and especially if you're going to take things away from reality, maybe it's not such a good idea. Thanks for listening.